Welcome back inside the Now Morning Show. This morning we're chatting about sport. I Choose Sport is celebrating its 1-year anniversary, making a mark where it matters. This morning I welcome Larry Romany, the chairman of Sport CT, and Nigel Paul, World Championship boxer and I Choose Sport brand ambassador. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Welcome to the Now Morning Show. How are we doing this morning?
Great, man.
All right. Now, I Choose Sport is celebrating its anniversary, first anniversary 1 year ago. Larry, how proud are you of this program?
I have been in sport for the last 40 years, and this really represents what I consider to be the best opportunity that we have ever had to structure sport in a way that gives us a sustainable development of performances, but also gives us an opportunity to allow access to kids to participate in sport, which is what the whole thing needs. It needs a pathway from the time that you start to go to school right through till you retire from work.
Now,
you need that pathway.
This is a conversation that we always hear, but we only hear it around the time of competitions, right? And we hear people talking about, well, why are we not developing it? Why are we not working on it? So now we have this program here that is doing it. In terms of being able to look back after the year and say, we've accomplished X, Y, and Z, have you been able to say, well, I look back and I see the accomplishments that we've been able to say, all right, we started doing something?
Oh, yes. This is the first time we would have seen a structured approach to actually going into schools. We have to understand the way that the ministries are organized. They're pretty independent of one another. And getting the Ministry of Sport to work with the Ministry of Education, those things have to be nurtured as we go along. And
Finesse.
it didn't start that way. It started actually where sport was in the Ministry of Education.
Right.
And then it moved out. What we've been able to do is actually meet with those stakeholders, and we have forged a pathway of going forward that allows us to meet that requirement. So we have been to 241 schools, over 20,000 kids we have been working with now. We're in roughly about 40 communities, and the program it operates in 3 pillars, whereby we have what is called the schools, the I Choose Sport caravan that goes into the school initially and actually starts to introduce them and the concept. And we bring in guys like Paul, and they talk to the athletes and get them interested. And what we have found is 2 things. One, the teachers, the principals, and the kids are very enthusiastic about participating, and then they sign up. And then we have a schools caravan that comes in with another group of people who actually bring in the sports that they want to see in the school.
Right.
And we have athletic trainers. What we have done is partnered with GC Foster in Jamaica to train coaches, and we work with the NGBs, the national governing bodies, to assist in actually putting on the programs at schools. And then we encourage schools and the young kids, once they start participating, to then join clubs. So we try to marry clubs with the kids. But one of the things that we have always failed to do is deal with the fundamentals.
Right.
And the fundamental part of actually participating in sports is something called physical literacy. So just like you have cognitive literacy, the reason why you go to school to learn English and arithmetic and so forth, it's the same way in sport. If you don't have physical literacy, you're not going to participate well. So entering sport as a teenager or as someone in their 20s is very difficult if you did not participate well and did not have a good grounding in physical education at a primary school level. So in the primary school level, we're focusing a lot on fundamental approach, teaching them the fundamentals. And as we go into the secondary school is where you actually start participating and looking at what's going on.
And specializing almost.
Yeah, and getting an opportunity to participate, because the next thing is access. What we find is that we have these centers of excellence in pockets across the country, but a child in Maruga can't get there. A child in Mayaro can't get there. So that we have to go out. And that is how we've been able to go out to these communities and start training trainers, training community leaders, because then we have the community program where the caravan rolls into the community as well. And they then work with community leaders, community coaches, clubs, and etc. to help them develop. And the whole intention is trying to assist them on the entire pathway. So even in terms of holding school sports, we try to assist in terms not only through officiating, but also financially to help schools develop and have school sports on a regular basis so that it comes back as something that's interesting for kids.
Yeah.
And then finally, what we have is a measurement and evaluation scenario where we come back now and we have now started going through all of these kids that we have participating. We're measuring them, evaluating them. It's difficult to talent identify someone who is prepubescent. It's hard because they don't have an anaerobic system. It makes it difficult for you because of the growth spurt.
Yeah.
You could easily be fooled that child growing up. You could imagine it when he was 10 compared to other people who were 10.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It makes it difficult.
Yeah.
So that we more focus on the secondary school age groups. And through that, we are able to identify certain physiological traits that will allow them to be in sports like boxing, like sprinting, endurance. In cricket, it would be the best bowlers, what would be the best wicket keepers through eyesight, and testing all of those things, so that we have a good base of information.
This is quite hopeful, if I be honest with you, because it's encouraging to hear that we are taking this approach, because we often see, for example, we saw in Jamaica that they did that with track and field. We saw the results of it come to fruition all the way up to the Olympic level.
Yeah.
And so I'm really happy to hear that we are starting this so we can get to that place in time, and of course it will take some work. But Nigel, let me jump across to you. Tell me about your experience going into these schools and having these conversations with the children.
For me is something really rewarding for me. Interacting with the kids, going into these schools, you really feel that, that sense of closeness with them, because they usually see you on TV or at our games. And when we have, in the caravan, we have a segment, Let's Talk, where the athletes share on certain topics, and you have a Q&A segment where they can ask us anything about life or sport. And most of the time afterwards, you hear most of the young people come and say, I want to do boxing because of what they hear, or I want to do swimming, or I want to do sprinting. And we kind of encourage them to sign up for as much sport as you can, explore the options that you have, and even reaching out to you afterwards and saying, sir, I watch your boxing match and I'm following you now. And we're really building that kind of atmosphere now where the younger ones really interested in sports, and I believe that's what we're aiming for. We're really reaching that.
Tell me the role sport has played in your life personally.
Coming from Enterprise, hotspot area, growing up in an environment where a lot of negativity is being done in the area. I want to be that kind of change. Sport for me has really turned around my life and my view of the area of Enterprise, because then I've been in connection with other athletes from the area, and we're just trying to change that whole narrative in the community. And sports has really given me that platform where I could do things like this, be involved in more outreach program, mentorship program. I'm mentoring a couple of young men from the area. It's really changed the way I look at things, and not, so to speak, write off an area or write off a young man or a young woman, and really give them that opportunity. And a lot of them really run after the opportunity of sport, because academics is not, for everybody. And once you have that ability and you realize, I could actually reach and build that kind of mindset, when you can even venture into academics after a while, it's really rewarding.
A lot of people might have their reservations when it comes to boxing, for example, and say, well, that's what little violence. Tell me about the aspect of it that would be positive and encouraging for a young person to say, I want to be a part of that.
So I firsthand experienced the backlash of being a boxer. Both my parents are pastors.
Oh boy.
So from that standpoint, why are you involved in a combat, they call it blood sport, some people. And for me, growing up, I was kind of a hot-headed young man. So boxing kind of came naturally to me, so to speak.
Outside the ring.
Outside the ring. But since being involved in boxing, I actually got started when I was 19. Stepped away for a bit and came back when I was 25. And I have never gotten into an altercation outside or have to fight outside of a boxing ring. And my coach, my first coach, Floyd Trumpet, he actually took boxing into the schools before we had something like this, where he would identify the students who fighting in school and who behaving bad, and actually have like a reformation project where you bring them into boxing, because any combat sport will tell you the level of discipline you have to be in this sport is next level. I mean, just being disciplined as an athlete on a whole, you see the difference, you see the shift in personality, the shift in temperament as an individual. So I would say a lot of people boxing too violent for my child to do, but even with I Choose Sports, having certain coaches going to school, we do non-contact, where we just teach you the fundamentals, like you said, kind of foster that athlete life and behavior and discipline.
I think the discipline part is the major part of it, because no matter whichever sport it is, you have to have a certain level of discipline to be top of the game, to be top tier.
Of course.
Before we wrap, Mr. Romany, tell me, in terms of if teachers, principals who you may not have reached out to us yet, if they want to get this in their schools, they want to get the program, they want to reach out, clubs want to reach out, and communities want to reach out, how can they do so?
They can get in touch with us at Sport TT. The numbers are available, and there's a help desk there that would allow them to put them in touch with the right person. We have someone who is specifically, we have a number of people, we have quite a number of employees working with this. I think right now we're up to maybe about 70 employees that actually work in the system, because in addition to all that, we also have a community cricket program that is run by Samuel Badri and his people. And that's another phenomenal success in and of itself. But we've had a lot of people like that call in and request the program, and we've been trying to facilitate it as best as we can across Trinidad and Tobago. We have programs in Tobago. Out of the 9 secondary schools, we're in 8.
Nice.
And we're starting the primary schools right after SEA.
Okay.
So that I think that we are island-wide. And we want to get as many, and you know, he talks about things, but you know, the most important thing is access. Giving kids access to participation. That's what we don't have, and that's what we want to make sure at the end of the day, we have that.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this morning, and congratulations on this initiative. I look forward to seeing the fruits of it, which we may not see until the long term, because we're starting a process now, and I think it's a great process to start, because when we do start to see the benefits of it, they're going to continue to roll and be consistent, and that's the part I'm looking forward to. So thank you very much for the work. Please keep it up. Ladies and gentlemen, Larry Romany, Chairman of Sport TT, and Nigel Paul, World Championship boxer and I Choose Sport brand ambassador, joining us this morning to chat a little bit about I Choose Sport as they celebrate 1 year of success so far, I would say, making a mark where it actually matters.